All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Birmingham Bible Church's annual Business Summit. Thank you for joining us here on today. We have been doing this summit for several years now. I think it's been 3, maybe 4 years. But this particular platform is really blessing our viewers. It's blessing me. It's blessing our panelists. And so we are excited on today because this gives us an opportunity to get some like-minded people around you so that you can help grow your business. So I don't care if you have a mom and pop business, if you have a small business, if you have a large business, if you have any type of business, I want you to grab your coffee, grab you a notebook, take you some great extensive notes, share this information with someone that you know, someone that you love, someone that you know needs to hear it, because we have an awesome lineup here on today. We have some new faces, we have some familiar faces, but they are going to help you in your business. It is our prayer and our desire that they're going to give you some nuggets. They're going to give you some insight. They're going to change your way of thinking, your way of doing, and they will challenge you because that's what iron does. Iron sharpens iron. And so these are some powerful iron men and women who are going to sharpen your skills, your business skills on today. And so I'm going to move out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and present our first presenter. She is wonderful. She's done stuff for us on a legal matter. She is an attorney here in Birmingham, Alabama. She is the CEO of Creative Minds. She is very well intelligent and very in depth when it comes to trademarking, copywriting. She breaks it down so you know if you need it or not. There are a lot of things happening as going on in this world, and I have seen just so many, I know you guys have as well, of people who have not trademarked their name and just the repercussions of it. And so she is going to teach us why it is important to brand our name. Hello, Katrina Brown Graham. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so is it me? Is it my time?
Yeah, it's your time. It's your time. You're going to go first.
Good morning, good people. So believe it or not, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. And let me just go ahead and repent right now. So I'm excited. We're talking about branding your name. And I was reflecting on this, even in the Bible, people have been branding names since the beginning of time. When God decided that we were going to call day and night, and made sure we had a distinctive name for what the sun was and what the moon would be. And even when he gave Adam the authority to name all of the beasts on the earth, as well as woman, right? The authority to name something. Even now, what I won't say today, we name our children, not all of us, but there are some of us out here who just name our children any old thing. We like Alexis, we're gonna name them Alexis. But biblically speaking, to name something, to call something a name was a privilege, right? One of my favorite scriptures that I always hold to, it's probably my top 5, is in Genesis 41, verses 51 through 53. And it's when Joseph gets ready to name his sons, right? Joseph has, and of course if you've been next to anybody's church or just walk by a church, you know the story of Joseph. And after Joseph has gone through all of these things, God has now elevated him. He is now a married man, second in line to Pharaoh. And God has blessed him with 2 sons. And so he says in 51, he says, and Joseph named his first son Manasseh. Because God has helped him forget all of his troubles about his father's family. And this is my favorite part. He says, and he named his second son Ephraim, because God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. And that one verse, God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. I always think about that when he named his son. Joseph was basically saying, if there comes a point in my life where I fall back, or things don't go the way that I think that they should, or things are beginning to go on a downside, I can look to what I've named my son and be reminded that God has the ability to make me fruitful in the land of my affliction, right? God has this ability. He's done it before. He'll do it again. And so when we talk about branding, when we talk about naming a thing, we have to realize that it is very important, right? It matters what we call a thing, our children, a business. And so I'm going to share, I feel like for the last couple of years, I've talked about trademarks and what that looks like and why you should do it. But I want to share some tips on how to brand a name, because I think a lot of people fail in the trademark process because they have a generic name. They want to name something okay business. That's not going to be trademark. And so we're going to talk about a couple of tips on what you should think about if you're starting a business, or if you're trying to transfer a name, or think about a slogan or whatever it is, because you can trademark more than just a business name. You can trademark a slogan, you can trademark patterns. There are a lot of different things that you can trademark, and trademark logos and sounds. And so you want to think through, what does that process look? So I'm going to share a couple of tips. Number one, make sure that it's memorable. The best brand names are the ones that customers can remember easily. If you're from Birmingham or the South, there's this, there used to be a commercial when I was a little girl, it was called Goldberg. It was a law firm. I don't know what Goldberg did, but I know that number when they say 800-600-6014. I'm like about to be 40. And that was when I was 10. And that number, if I had an issue, I could call Goldberg today, because that number, that commercial stands out. So when you're thinking about a brand, when you're thinking about your name, make it memorable. Have a slogan. Take some time to think about what that looks like for you, so that people can remember it. Another good one is that the company that buys your settlements, and they'll say something like, "It's my money and I want it now." And you hear all these people yelling out the window, "It's my money and I want it now." Those are things you're going to remember. And so you want to think about, as you're building your brand, is this something that is going to be memorable? Is this a catchphrase that is catchy? Is this something that will catch on? Is there a something that people will attach this to me, right? So that's the first thing. The other thing you want to think about is make it unique. The market is crowded. And I'm not one of those people to say, well, everybody's doing that, so you shouldn't do it. Because I think it was Brother Ross who said last year that if you go in the grocery store, there's you go in the bread aisle, there's a million different breads, but somebody's going to pick one of them. They're all selling. And so I don't think that it's crowded where you can't do it. I think when I'm talking about it's crowded, think about the uniqueness of your name, right? You don't want to have okay law firm. Everybody's okay law firm. I'll give you an example. When I started my firm, I spent a lot of money because I was going to be the Brown law firm. Girl, everybody last name Brown. Okay. It was never sitting right in my spirit anyway, but I thought the only way that I would be able to do business is that I needed to be a traditional lawyer. I needed to go with the Brown law firm. Creative Mind Law had been playing in my head the entire time that I decided to go into private practice. So I spent all this money, got these logos made. I'm ashamed to say how much money I spent talking about Brown law firm. The day that it was supposed to launch, the Lord was like, absolutely not. I called everybody. I was like, take the website down. Let's do this. We're going to go with Creative Mind Law. So here I am having to jump back out and spend some more money. Number one, because I trusted God, but number two, I wanted to be unique. I don't want to be a traditional law firm where I don't wear suits every day. If I go to trial, I wear a suit, and that's rarely. When you come in my law firm, we are going to have soul music playing. You might hear some LL Cool J. Like, it's not going to be your traditional law firm. And I'm okay with that. Like, I am authentically myself. I don't want to code switch. I am truly who I am. And so the name needed to match what I was trying to put out in the world. And I realized that I'm not for everybody, because I do know people who would prefer to do business with lawyers who are in three-piece suits every day. And there are plenty of them, and I can refer you right to them. But that wasn't the brand that I want. And I was okay with that being who I wanted to present it to the world. So making sure that your brand is unique. The next thing is make sure it's protectable. Choosing a trademark name and making sure that, number one, the domain is available, but also making sure that it's something that can actually be protected. Again, the more unique the name is, the more likely it will be protected. Think Coke. think Pepsi, think Delta. Well, like the airlines and the Fosses and the sorority, which I'm a Delta, shout out to the Deltas out there. But this idea that when you're thinking about your name, make sure it's something that can actually be protected. Make sure it's a phrase that can actually be protected. For instance, I know a couple of years ago in the middle of the pandemic, there was this guy who was getting out of the trunk of a car, and he made this catchphrase, "Where the money reside," right? And every time you look around, you kept people, "I'm where the money reside." I'm always where the money resides. Where is it? That's where I want to be too. Neither here nor there. But he made this catchphrase and he immediately trademarked it, right? And so now when you see people putting that out there, he's making money off of that. You never know what's going to hit. I tell people all the time, you can put content out there. You never know what will take off, what will go viral, what will be profitable for you. So you always have to be ready, but you want to make sure that it's protectable. Also, we got to get away from just putting things out there without making sure that we have taken the proper steps to protect it in the first place. Pam talked a little bit about this, but a lot of times you see people's ideas and things being stolen because they didn't take the proper steps up front. And I just wish our people would get away from being reactive and be more proactive, right? In how we do business, right? I'm all for putting information out there, but let me tell you right now, I'm not going to let you make money off me and I not get a cut out of it, right? And so everything I do, and it's probably people get sick of me, but anytime I see somebody do something out inbox, I'm like, girl, that's good. You might want to trade. Not because I want your business, but hey, don't somebody gonna steal that. I was like, oh, that's too good. That's too good, girl. You need to hold that tight to the vest. And I've seen it happen time and time and time again. So making sure it's something that's protectable. The other thing, you want to make sure you have something that a name or a brand that you're creating that has staying power. For me, having staying power to me talks about the type of core values you want to have in your business, right? Sitting down and thinking about, what do I want to bring to the world? What am I bringing to this environment? What am I bringing to the culture? Whatever it is, right? A good example of that is, you think about Chick-fil-A. And I use this example because people stand in that line. I have never driven by Chick-fil-A unless it's on a Sunday and the line ain't been wrapped around the building. Now, let's be clear, Chick-fil-A is good, but I don't know that it's $13 chicken sandwich good. It's the customer service. And people love to be treated well. Listen, them folks gonna run. It can be snowing, it can be raining, it can be a blizzard. But if you leave a sandwich, they gonna come running down the street full on the interstate, get off the exit you got on, and get you your chicken sandwich. Okay, that's how good the customer service is. They special, and everybody, it doesn't matter what Chick-fil-A you go to, the customer service is gonna be on point, right? Yep. The point is because that's a part of their culture. That's a part of the core values. And they make sure their employees know that you go, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. They are known for their good customer service. And so when you're thinking about staying power, what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to get in line for to do business with you? They can get a chicken sandwich from anywhere, but they want to come get a chicken sandwich from you because of something that you have put out, something that you're known for. You're known for taking accountability. You're known for fixing a mistake. You're known for speaking with respect. You're known for getting things done and being accurate. What are you known? What is the staying power? So think about your brand in that fact. And then the final thing is this: make sure it's available. I had a potential client who started a food truck. They came to me right when they were about to do it. And I said, well, we need to do what we call a trademark search to make sure the name is available. And I told them how much it was. And they were like, oh, well, it's too much money. I can't afford it. 100%. I get it. Trademark is I'm not going to call it a luxury, but it's part of, in my opinion, what you need if you want to move forward in your business. And so they went forward. They opened it up. Baby, they was booming. Okay. Booming all through Georgia, all through Tennessee, just they're known, well known. So finally they came to me and they were like, hey, we want to trademark our name. Because of course they made all this money now. So lo and behold, I said, okay. They start the process on their own, but they received an office action and they wanted to hire me to fight the office action. As I'm doing that, we get a letter in the mail from a multi-million, I'm talking about in 1 year, the company made $500 million, and was like, you need to cease and desist on our business. Number one, they don't have the money. They don't have the ability to fight a case like that. it was going to cost so much money to fight it, and it's not to say that they couldn't have owned the trademark, because there were some arguments that could have been made, but litigation is a process. It is not cheap by any means. And so what ended up happening is they had to spend, I know it was costing about 100, maybe $110,000 to rebrand. That was after 2 years of building up their brand. That's what it costs when you don't do the work up front. So when I say make sure it's available, I'm talking about doing the trademark search, not just having a domain name. You can go out and own a domain and not have ownership of your brand. Just owning a website does not give you ownership. That's a step in the ownership process. But that, oh, I own the domain. Okay, whoop-a-dee do, the idea that you have to go a step further, you have to make sure that it's something. So you want to do the trademark search. You want to do, yes, you can do Google, but you need to do a professional trademark search. Google is not going to cover everything. You need to find somebody who can do a trademark search to make sure it's available, because the worst thing you can do is get out here and spend all of this money and the name not be available, or you have to rebrand. And finally, let me just say this. When you're talking about owning a business, when you're talking about, because I know right now it's the trend, entrepreneurship is everywhere. Everybody's talking about being a 6-figure business. I mean, everybody a 6-figure business. I'm like, my first year I had like $25, but y'all go off. Not saying they can't be a 6-figure business, but that's the thing. Right. Entrepreneurship is hard work. Yes. It is hard work. It's beautiful when it's done well. But if you want to be a business, you have to be willing to do the work up front. And it will require you to really think. It's not just enough to just get money and have transactions. It's how do you create a business that can run without you being there? Because if you're running a business and you can't go on vacation, because if you don't open up the shop or if you don't show up, it does not run. You are not a CEO of your business. You are an employee of your business. You have to create a business where you can do CEO work and that it can run without you. If you don't have a plan for that, then you're going to always feel enslaved to the business. So my tips, all of the tips that I gave you earlier, but make sure you think long and hard about entrepreneurship, because it is a work, but when it's done well, it can be something that will create generational legacy and generational wealth. And finally, on the note of generational wealth, thank you, Holy Spirit, for this. I would just want to say this for those of us, because a lot of us create business and we want to pass it to our children or we want to pass it to our grandchildren. I say this all the time. It does you no good to create all of this wealth, whether it's through a business or through insurance or through whatever means, if you are not creating children and grandchildren who have the character to sustain it, because it'll just be a waste. The family will be gone after 3 generations. So make sure while you're thinking about your generational wealth, whether that's through the business or insurance or however, that you're creating the integrity in your children and those you're going to leave it to be able to carry it forth through the end. So that's it.
Amen. I forgot to tell y'all that Katrina was an attorney / preacher. I forgot to add that. Girl, that was so good. The tips you gave, you put out recently, and I didn't know he did this. The football player that collapsed, Hamlin, he just trademarked. I think everybody had going around saying love for something, and he just trademarked that phrase, didn't he?
Yep, he just filed an application for it. You won't make money off of him and he not get paid for it.
Exactly.
He filed that from his sick bed.
Wow.
He filed that while he was in the hospital. Absolutely.
Wow. And see, that's just how important it is to trademark, to brand a phrase, a name. Katrina, that was so good. Great points, great tips. Listen, guys, make sure you are sharing this video. Make sure you are texting people about it. This was good information. Thank you so much, Katrina. Listen, how can people contact you if they want to trademark their name?
Okay, so you can reach me on our website, which is creativemindlaw.com. We are on TikTok. We have 105,000 followers, so I'm always posting on there. It's at Your Trademark Attorney or The Trademark Attorney. We're on Instagram at Your Trademark Attorney, and then on Facebook as Creative Mind Law Firm. So yeah, reach out to us. You can ask your questions. I'll answer questions. If we can help, if we are not the right fit, I'm happy to refer. There are a ton of good trademark attorneys out there, so I'm happy to refer out if it's not a good fit, but definitely reach out. And if we can assist, we will.
Thank you. And listen, one more question. So how long, and so we went through this trademark process. She did some trademarking for us, and her and her staff are just wonderful. How long is the process? Let them know it's not It ain't a
Oh
month
yeah. Oh, I forgot
process.
about that. Yeah. So the process is long. So I think initially when we started with you guys, they were telling us anywhere from 10 to 12 months. Now it's gone from 12 to 16 because they're getting so many applications. And so it can be a process. It really just is it really depends on which examiner you're assigned to, because I've had some that I filed and they've moved through in 4 months, and I was shocked, and that they went faster than the ones that I filed maybe 3 or 4 months before. But generally speaking, it can take anywhere from 12 to 16 months to get it approved,
Okay.
if it's approved.
Awesome. If it's approved, yeah, awesome. Thank you. And she goes to bat for you. She's, always, hey, this what's going on. And so this what we're gonna do. This is the next step. So I recommend her highly. Thank you so much, Katrina.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And next we have, listen, he's been with us before. He's also a preacher too. But Curvance is awesome. He helps people and organizations with marketing, with branding, with development. And so I now bring to you guys Curvance Ross. Curvance, tell our audience a little bit about what you do, and then also talk to us about how it's going to work this time. Tell us about that as well.
First Lady, it's an honor to be with you. I have to honestly say, I didn't know I was batting cleanup for Katrina. That she's become a prophetess since I saw her
I'm
last.
telling you.
Phenomenal. I'm a fan of all of her work, and I encourage everybody who doesn't own what they have
That's
to
right.
get in touch with her. And for those people who refuse to do it, please, Katrina, send them to me. I will take their $115,000 to rebrand everything, since they don't want to follow the process. So I'm here for the people who fail. I want to help. I'm honored. I have an amazing affinity for First Lady and her husband, James Mason. They do phenomenal work, not just in Birmingham, but for people in every walk of life. And I'm honored to always have this opportunity. The rest of the amazing panelists. I am Curvance Ross. I affectionately go by the Kingmaker. It is my purpose and duty in life to touch at least 1 billion people before I die and help them obtain their optimum level of purpose, greatness, and success. And Katrina's going to be happy. I own the Kingmaker. I've written this trademark. I got it all squared away. Go steal it if you like. Just run me the money and I'm good with you. I'm excited about today. I am not just in the marketplace as a marketplace master, but I operate in ministry. I am the pastor of the largest church in the world. I pastor the internet, and I am the pastor of internet and innovation at New Birth Cathedral here in Stonecrest, Georgia, where Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryan is our senior pastor. I'm on the road. That's the only reason you have me in this space, running from the airport and from one space to another. So thank you for your flexibility, all of the panelists. And I got to shout out my sister, Shata, Sam, who you're going to hear, and my nemesis, that's a best friend, Stephen J. Thurston. I'm always praying for his deliverance. He is
Amen.
good and holy. So we just want to keep him in prayer, but I want to get right into it. This is for entrepreneurs. We've been doing this for several years. And in the next 10 minutes, I want to just get out of the people's way by giving you some sense of encouragement. Because Katrina touched on it, entrepreneurship is hard work. Many people don't realize that entrepreneurship and undertaker are synonyms. I've said it before. Those two words are synonyms. These are individuals who are comfortable taking calculated risk. So as we get into this space, I wanted to use this thought. I want to give you some Bible and some practicality. One passage of scripture, Luke chapter 5, verse 5. I'm going to read from the NIV, and it'll set up the premise for the next 9 minutes. It says, Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night, haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. Simon says, we've been entrepreneurs. We've been working all night. Business was slow. And you're telling us to open the business back up I'm going to do it only because you said it. And for these moments, I'm using this subject. It's going to work this time. I need everybody who can be a virtual influencer to share right now, tag a friend that you know, use that @ symbol, share it to your stories, your platforms, because somebody you know needs everything they're going to hear on this morning. I have to admit, a few weeks ago, I jumped into one of my automobiles and was headed to an event. And honestly, First Lady Pam, I had never known that your key fob battery could completely go dead without you paying attention to the notifications. I was driving, I got to a location, got out, hit the button, thinking that I locked the door, go into the event and come back out and realize my car is completely unsecured. Try to get in the car to start the car up, nothing's working. I know I got gas. I know the battery works. I know there's no engine trouble, but for some reason, I couldn't lock the door to secure it, and I couldn't start the car to take off. I'd gotten to where I needed to be, but where I was headed had been paralyzed because the unit that cranks up and secures my car was no longer working. I'm trying to figure out, how do I get to this point? And I realized that a notification had come up on my dashboard that I had ignored because I was focused on one thing, while for weeks the car had been telling me to get prepared for change. And it's a situation that many of us as entrepreneurs, whether you're early in the game, you're in the middle of the game, or you're late in the evening in the game, you've done everything that you thought you needed to do. You got your licensing, you got your logo, you got your security statements, you got your Secretary of State documentation. You've done it for other people. You remember working for somebody. You helped their business take off. The battery never went dead in your mind, in your gift, in your talent. But now you're in the midst of another moment in your business and you haven't been paying attention to the signs. 2022 was frustrating. It looked like everything got stale for you in 2022, and everything you tried, everything you did, everything you focused on, it looks like it wasn't starting. You rocked in 2020, but the pandemic hit and you couldn't get your bearings, or you started your business. You couldn't figure out how to get beyond the beginning point. It was like you took off at a high level, and at some point you've leveled off, and it feels like that you secured it. You were headed to your destination. And now all of a sudden, when you get ready to go from where you are to your next location, nothing will start for you. You're getting ready to give up. You're frustrated. I know you. You have gone online to Career Builder and thought about going back into the workforce. You thought about how easy it was to take PTO. You knew what it felt like when 2 o'clock hit. And now you're tired of your coworkers. You're frustrated with the circumstance. So you clock out. The computer is on, but you're not working. And now you realize there have been signs on this moment, on this journey, and it hasn't been working. But it's simply because you've had a battery that is no longer charged and able to get you started. And I want to help you to understand that it's going to work this time. I literally speak over every business owner, every visionary, every entrepreneur, that this year, everything you put your hands to is going to start the way you called it. Everything that you've been focused on is going to happen. It's not going to fail. It's not going to falter. You're not going to break down. It's going to happen, and it's going to work this year. And I had to find somebody who had car trouble just like I did. And I found them in the mechanic shop in the Gospel of Luke.
All right.
Right there in the Gospel of Luke, these entrepreneurs, they weren't in a car. They were on a boat. They were entrepreneurs because they all were fishermen. Their family members had been fishermen for generations. They were good at catching fish. I actually even went to Jerusalem and stood in the Sea of Galilee on a boat that was just like theirs a few months ago, and found out that there were a few lessons that these entrepreneurs wanted to teach us from antiquity to post-modernity. And you can take these lessons, and I'm literally out of your way because I know everybody behind me has something amazing to say. It's not that you were not going to take off. It's not that your car wasn't working. But number one, get this. Yeah. If you're going to get it, if you're going to head to where you need to be, it worked for me to get the gas. It worked for me to get to my destination. All right. But it didn't work for a few reasons. And this is how you're going to know that it's going to take off. Number one, your original source must change. Write that down, put it in the comments. Your original source must change. Peter tells us, and I found this out, you're going to be blown away, Crystal, that the source of your power had to change because they were so comfortable doing it the way they had done it before that they didn't realize the way they were getting ready to do it at the next level had to change. They had put their focus on their gifts. They had put their focus on their creativity. But let me help you to understand, this is Birmingham Bible Church. This is a moment where you've got to get some source power from another location. I've helped you to understand, and I'm clear, and every entrepreneur will be able to tell you, it wasn't just you. It wasn't just your family. It wasn't just your resources. Entrepreneurship requires prayer. I know that's not what you want to say. I know that's not what you want to do, but there are some moments in this entrepreneurship journey. If I didn't pray, I could have legally killed some employees. I could have legally went off on some people and made them disappear who owed me money. I could have legally put some people on the run because when it's your business, if you don't eat, if you don't kill it, you don't eat. And your source can minimize your ability to be effective. And many of us have to get new sources. You've been dependent on friends. You've been dependent on coworkers. You've been dependent on those people that say, if you start that business, I'm going to patronize you. And they never showed up. That's right. You got to shift your source if you want this thing to work this time. Not only must you shift your source, you must pay for new power. So you must pay for new power. You heard Crystal say it. It's not cheap being an entrepreneur. You've got to invest in what you want if you want the best results. And I found out when I got ready to shift my key fob and took it back to the dealer, they charged me a price that didn't even make sense to me. I almost gave them the car back because the way they had designed the key fob, I couldn't just break it open. I had to take it back to the manufacturer to get what I need, and I had to pay the cost. I'm going to honor you as business owners. You need to call Katrina. It's not cheap in the beginning, but it's much cheaper than it would be at the end.
That's right.
You need to get Stephen Thurston. You need to touch bases with Shata. You need to make sure you have a CPA. Why? Because you got to pay for the power that you want to take off and go where you're going. It's not going to be cheap. It's not Instagram miracles. It's work that you had to pay for. You had to invest in. You can make it happen this year, but it's going to cost you. It's not that just your original source must change. It's not that you got to pay for new power, but thirdly, you will need a contingency. So you will need a contingency. You need a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D to make this thing happen. Realize they work for fish. That's their business. There is no plan for not catching fish. They needed a backup. They needed another opportunity. And I quickly realized why the dealership gave me 2 keys. Why? Because I need a backup when something goes wrong with the primary. It was my fault that I didn't know where the backup key was. It was my fault that I couldn't locate it. But in business, you need to realize you need other options. You can't depend on one client. You can't depend on one source of operation and communication. You can't depend on one outlet. You need operational contingencies that will help you make this thing happen over and over again. You say, well, it's not just my original source, Curvance. It's not just I got to pay for new power. It's not just I need contingencies, but I'm almost out of your way. You cannot abandon the vehicle. Realize Luke didn't tell any of his team members we throwing away the boat. I never walked away from the car. I literally have to stay on the vessel. And no matter how difficult it gets, this is what you're called to. If you're called to it, stay connected to it. I said something good. You need to type that in the comments. If you're called to it, stay connected to it. It's going to get frustrated. It's going to have some high days. It's going to have some low days. You quickly learn as an entrepreneur, there are 5 seasons and not 4. It's not just autumn. It's just not winter. It's just not spring. It's not summer. The 5th season that's not on the calendar is called due. D-U-E. And if you stay connected to it, it's going to work for you if you get to where you need to be. It takes you sometimes. Some people take off early. Some people take off in the middle. Some people take off near the end. It doesn't matter what time you took off. The question is, did you move? Yes. And this is where it has to work for you. And I'm out of your way. I want to respect everybody's time. And I got a flight to catch. This is the 4th one, but the final one, you must realize it's going to work this time. It's amazing to me. I was on the boat in the Sea of Galilee in Jerusalem, and the fisherman went through the process, and he put the net on his shoulder and counted the 3 and threw it out in the water. And the way the net was designed is that it had weights on it, and it would drop it down to the water. But nobody realized that there was a rope under the fisherman's arm. And the beauty of the Sea of Galilee, it is the best place in Israel to fish for fishermen, because there are 5 hot streams that come into the Sea of Galilee. And at the right time, all kinds of fish, not just mullets, not just catfish, but they even have fish in the Sea of Galilee that are only in Jerusalem. And if it didn't work one time, they literally, based off of Jesus's format, force themselves to go to a side that doesn't traditionally work so that they can see success in new places. And for every entrepreneur that's listening to me, it's getting ready to work this time. You got to get your source together. You got to have some backup power. You got to have some contingencies. You can't abandon the vehicle. And when you use that formula and go to a different side, sometimes you got to get rid of some folk. Sometimes you got to move to different locations. This is the blessing of Luke. You read it when you get some time. When they had this catch, this was the biggest catch they had ever had. They caught so much fish that their boat almost sunk. Literally, Jesus sinks their business battleship. And they have to get this, call everybody around them that is a fisherman and ask them to come close. Because we win in so much, we got to start giving stuff away. Yeah. It's my belief, it's my prayer, it's my declaration for every entrepreneur that this year, it's going to work so well that God is going to bless your business that you got to give clients away, that you got to open up other people's businesses because you can't figure out what to do with all the money. You can't take all the contracts, that you can't operate and answer all the phone calls. It's going to work so well this time that your key fob will never go dead, that your business will never minister to just you. It'll minister to everybody in your generation, that you won't even see any failure in 2023. It's going to work so well that you trying to figure out, are you doing something illegal? You trying to figure out who started sending you clients that you can't figure out how they found out your name. This year, it's going to work so well that it's going to blow your mind and make you realize that there is no secret to what God can do. He can do it in church. He can do it in a cigar bar. He can do it for a mechanic shop. He can do it for a branding company. He can do it for an attorney. And he's getting ready to do it for you. You just type in the comments. It's going to work this time. I'm out of my time. Thankful for yours. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, First Lady. Thank you, panelists. And I'm praying for every business owner, every leader, every visionary. And I promise you, this year is going to work this time.
My, Curvance, you never disappoint. You have blessed us. People are commenting in the section. You've blessed me just in that short of time. Just great motivation, because sometimes when you're owning a business, there are highs and lows, and when you get to those lows, you're like, wait a minute, but God, you told us to do, you told that person to do this, and man, it just is confirmation of just how just everything people have told us about their business, what they're going through. Just shifting your focus, having that backup power, having a contingency plan, not putting all your eggs in one basket. The Bible talks about that, just really having those different plans. Thank you so much. I knew the first time we heard you, and I remember this, Q Park was having something in Atlanta. It was for all men, but I was in the hallway listening. And I told Pastor Mason came out, I said, I don't know what it is, but we got to have him for something. And years later, here you are on this platform. Thank you so much just for giving us your time. Thank you for the words that you have imparted to us, and just telling us and encouraging us how it's going to work this time. So business owners, entrepreneurs, don't give up. It is a lot of work. Katrina said that this is not for the weak, not for the faint of heart, but it is going to work this time. Keep moving and keep going. Thank you so much, Vance. Thank you. Next, we're going to keep it moving, keep this party going. We have another powerful speaker on today. We met her years ago. Actually, I have never really had a just sit down face-to-face conversation with this person. We knew of her, reached out to her. She is a wonderful person. First of all, she's cool. She's really cool, down to earth. She has a lot of experience in the business world, in entertainment. She's been doing that for the past 30 years. She has an extensive bio. I'm not going to go through it all, but she's worked in music. She's worked in television, faith-based organizations like your churches, marketing, media. She's done some great things for like Beat Shazam, y'all know, with Jamie Foxx. I think she's worked a lot with King Richard. She's producing. She has a lot of projects under her belt. So she's going to give us some great information. Listen, inflation is here. I see people on Facebook all the time talking about the price of eggs and how they're going to start getting chickens. And, it's just inflation is everywhere. And so when you have a business, if you have a cake business and you need eggs, so how do you manage? How can your business elevate during this time of inflation? That's what Crystal Smith is going to talk about. So I bring to you guys, Crystal. Hello, Crystal.
Hi, Pastor Pam. How are you?
Hi, I am great. How are you? First of all, thank you for joining us. I know all of y'all are busy, and for y'all to just accept this invitation, we, of course, thank you so much. You can tell the people a little bit about yourself. And also, let me back up. I forgot how people can contact Vance. He's logged off, but his website is KDR Consults. KDR Consults. He has a website. You can contact him that way, or y'all email me. I send out the information, but his website is KDR Consults. So Crystal, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what you have for us on today.
Awesome. First, I'd like to say thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I am a fan of you and Pastor Mason, so we have a mutual likeness here. When it comes to my profession and what I do an array of things, all that intertwine with the entertainment industry. And so entertainment and faith-based have found a way to merge together. And it's interesting in the times that we're living in now that I see that faith-based is literally a part of the entertainment world now. Has parts in the entertainment world, shall I say. So that was a goal of mine at least 25 years ago, to find a merger and a place and a space in the entertainment industry for faith-based, whether it's faith-based television, opportunities for leaders in the faith-based community, an array of things. And it's just awesome to see it all happening. I operate as a casting director now, a casting producer now, where we cast different game shows and talk shows. So it's a great, interesting, never the same day profession. And I absolutely love it. I've been a business owner for 30 years and counting. I always joke and say, I don't think I ever retire, but who knows, So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. My topic today is about business elevation in the midst of inflation. Something that I've been teaching over the past 2 months that I find to be quite interesting. I'm telling business owners everywhere, if you are a business owner, and your business is not evolving, that's a problem anyway. So if you started your business 15 years ago when we were not in inflation, and your business is doing the same thing, offering the same thing, operating in the same location, and you're not evolving with times, then that would be a reason why right now your business could possibly be in trouble. Because when you continue to evolve with the times, you change your business structure with the times. So by the time we get to the point of an inflation, your business will feel it, but it won't be catastrophic to your business. And that's where a lot of people have missed it. You have to keep evolving. So some would think now that we're in 2023, we've gone through the pandemic, a lot of changes should have been made. A lot of changes should have been made within businesses. But I'm learning now that we're all back outside. I'm learning now that a lot of businesses, whether it's faith-based or whether it's marketplace, they still didn't make the changes. So now that we're going from the pandemic to inflation, we're having even bigger problems because the cost to receive the products for the business, and even if you're faith-based, let's say if you're a church, the people are being affected. And like when it comes to the church, you can't walk in there and go, okay, we're in inflation, so tithe has gone up from 10% to 15% because we're in inflation. You can't do it that way. So you have to be innovative, which you should always, as a business owner, be innovative. You have to keep changing the structure of your business as you go. So let's give an example here. I normally give points, but today, for time's sake, I just want to give you some real life examples so that you can actually use these things when we finish today. All of the panelists, when we finish, I want you guys to be able to have something that's tangible for you to use and be able to tie your actual business into the scenarios. Okay, for example, if you own, let's say, the corner store, and you've been an owner of the corner store in your community for the past, let's say, 10 years. Okay, inflation is not a one-sided situation. When you're not a business owner, and sometimes business owners, they look at inflation, and the word inflation just makes everybody shake. Everybody becomes nervous. What most don't understand, when you're in business, the word inflation works two ways. The prices will go up for you, but you have to take your prices up for the consumer. Most people, especially if you are an African American in business, you're afraid to do that. You're afraid to do that because it's very difficult for African Americans in business because for some reason, we don't have enough time to go into the reason, but I know the reason. But for some reason, there's a stereotype that sits on an African American business. So you can be selling the same cart of eggs that your business down the street that's owned by a different ethnicity is selling. They can be selling their eggs for $10 a carton. You can sell your eggs for $9 a carton, and they'll still choose theirs. We can't change that. We can't change that dynamic. But what we can do is we cannot move and shift. You have to know the value of your product. You have to know the value. If you notice, everybody's talking about how eggs have gone up. They're talking about it, but they're still buying them. They're still buying them. So what you have to focus on is making sure that you have a business that is a business of need. Business is a pleasure right now. That's a different conversation for a different day, but business is of need. If there's a need and if your product has a demand, you can shift your prices just like everybody else shift their prices. And then you have to become creative and innovative. So going back to that corner store, say, for example, if you have a corner store and everybody in a community has always come into your corner store, well, since the pandemic, you should have already made a shift. But if you haven't, let's just talk about it. You have to become creative and innovative. So now you may need to create a delivery service. You may need to offer other options for people to shop at your store. And you look at your competitors around you. So they may not have, everybody's going to Instacart, Uber Eats, all of that. I wouldn't recommend you get on those things because you're going to give them most of your revenue. So what you want to do is you want to create your own in-house delivery service. So if you are a baker, whatever, but everybody should have a small business at this point. No excuses. We're in 2023. I don't care if you work for the post office. Everybody should have some type of small business, because if during the pandemic you didn't learn that within 5 seconds, your secured job could be no more. Everybody should have a small business. And so when it comes, going back to my corner store scenario, so the corner store, maybe you should offer delivery services. Maybe you should invest. Going back to something Corvée said, it takes money. It takes money to be a CEO. Whether you're a small business, a medium business, or a big business, it takes money to run the business. So if you don't believe in yourself and invest in yourself, when it comes to inflation, at the top of inflation, you have to spend a little money. Because in order to get ahead of the game, you have to spend a little money, because you have to bring the business up to a different level. Because if you're going to up your prices, you have to up the quality, you have to up your services, you have to up the availability of what you have to offer, because you have to get into the competitive market at this point. It's all about who is more convenient. We live in a microwave generation. With one click, they can get some food delivered to their door in 15. Nobody has to be inconvenienced anymore. So if you have a business that's going to take them around their way in order to be able to be a consumer of your business, you have a problem. So what you need to do is you have to find a way to balance your business into the marketplace and bring it up to date. You know, I always say this when it comes to faith-based. Pam, let me know when my time is up, because I forgot to look at the time when I started.
Listen, I was paying attention. I don't even know what time you started. Just go ahead.
Just do me like this, because you know I love what I do. And so what happens, you know, when you start your business, when you go to look at how to shift your business and where we are right now, you have to study. You have to take time and study your competition, study who else is doing what you're doing. So often people have a great idea and they think that they're the only one that have that idea. You know, when I was growing up, they used to say there's nothing new under the sun. And so often people take so much time trying to think of something new. No, if you study, that's why Black history, that's why all these histories are so important. American history, that's why they're important, because there's nothing new. So whereas you're trying to figure out a new way to do your business, you're just trying to evolve that business, whatever the business is, so that you can shift your prices. I was talking to someone recently and they were telling me they were offering a service, literally offering a virtual service. And they were I said, well, what's the price point? And they said, I'm going to sell it for $25. I mean, you know, you can register for $25. And I'm like, $25 for all of this? So when they sent me the advertisement, I looked at all of what they were offering. I said, well, if I was a consumer for what you're doing, I would not register for this. And she was floored. She was like, why? And I said, I wouldn't register because first of all, it's too cheap. Mm-hmm. And I believe in you get what you pay for. So a person is really interested in doing this for this price, and you're going to get all this. No, it's not possible. Because if I'm a researcher of what I do, I know the value of it. So I told her, don't be afraid to up the value if you know the value of your product. So when it comes to being a business owner, you have to know the value of what you offer, and you have to make sure that your product meets the standards now. You have to make sure, whether it's church, whether it's whatever, when it comes to the faith-based market, when it comes to ministries and how to elevate during inflation, I could talk about that all day. But you have to be creative, because like I said before, you can't tell the people, tithe, it went up to 12% until we got this inflation. No, you have to be innovative there as well. You have to think, because everybody is being affected. Everybody, your members are being affected, because most everybody you talk to now, especially if they're in a rental position when it comes to housing, their housing is going up, everything is going up, but people are still going to pay. They're still going to pay the rent. They're still going to pay the car note. They're still going to pay the insurance. Doesn't matter how much it goes up. So if you know the value of your product and what you offer, why not? Why can't your prices go up? But you just have to make sure your prices and the quality of what you offer, they match. Pastor Bam, is my time up?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it's good. I don't know, it's good.
You have such great panelists. I don't want to go into anybody else's time, but
no, no, this is great. I mean, being creative, because you're right. And everybody should have something. God has given all of us different gifts. What is your gift that can actually generate some revenue? And then knowing your value. Such great tips. Being innovative, doing things out of the box. I was talking to someone a couple of months ago, of course, when the pandemic hit, and it was a church, and there are some churches who still have not opened up. They never knew how to shift into that virtual space, or I don't know, maybe they had older members, but then we had people in our church who were teaching the older members, here, this is how you get on Zoom. This is how you find Facebook, and this is how you find the church. And so we had one member, she's an older member, she was teaching some of the older members how to do it. And so that's just an example, but a lot of people don't know how to shift.
And so, if I can interject right there, Pastor Pam, I think one of the problems that I see, and I see the exact same thing you're talking about, even now, given that I deal with a lot of ministries on a day-to-day basis, I see it. And I think where the problem often comes in with the churches, we don't know the value of investing into the ministry.
Yeah.
Investing into the ministry, because if you have a church, and it may have a lot of seniors in your church, a lot of times in the church space, they want to get volunteers to do things that maybe a professional needs to come in and do. And so when you look at a lot of these mega ministries out here that exist, what they don't understand is on the back end of that mega ministry, they have hired help. You may go in and see the ushers and the volunteers, but they also have hired help, because what you're not an expert at, you need to bring in one.
Yes,
and that's where the growth of the ministry will come from. You cannot build a ministry off of all volunteers. You need some professional people to get in and help you to build an infrastructure. And when you get that professional help to help you come in and build an infrastructure, then you will see the growth of the ministry. And I go back to, and I'm gonna stop because I go back to something that Attorney Katrina said earlier. It's just so important because everything is branded. Everything, the Bible is branded. Everything. So church leaders have to come to the place of understanding that if you want to see church growth, you have to create something, infrastructure within the ministry that will draw people in the current era that we're living in. Because the way it was before the pandemic, it is no more.
Right. You're so right. Listen, one quick question, and this is a marketing question. Just maybe one or two, I know that's, I'm gonna say 1 or 2 lines, but if you can give just some recommendations of how businesses can market, how can they get their name out there? Social media, I hear people TikTok. I have a TikTok account, I don't use it, but what are some avenues that are great for marketing?
Are you talking about faith-based marketing or just overall?
Just overall.
Okay, where a lot of people are not understanding is they're thinking that social media is a good place to market. But the best way I can describe that, Pastor Pam, is your front yard. Okay, that's like putting a sign of your business in your front yard. Well, the only people that are going to see that sign are people that live in your neighborhood. People that live across town, people that live in another state, they're not going to see that sign. So when you, or your ministry, your business creates a website, get on social media, you still have to have a marketing strategy that will draw people to your front yard, to your social media, to your TikTok. And unless right now we live in a very salacious society where everybody wants to see drama and foolishness. So unless you're not going to do something foolish that will give you a viral moment, then it's going to be very difficult. So that's where marketing firms come in. It goes again back to what I was saying, to being willing to invest into your business, because then you need to hire a marketing firm. Everybody's on different levels. So maybe you don't have to hire the biggest. You might not have to hire the one that Chick-fil-A uses. You may not, you know what I'm saying? But there are a lot of small marketing firms out here. There are a lot of publicists out here that can help draw attention, because what you do is you have to get you have to connect your business in this era we're living in. You have to connect your business with other big platforms. So say, for example, you don't have, I'm going to use this a vague example. You don't have Chick-fil-A money in your business, but you have to be creative and innovative to tie your business brand some way, somehow in with Chick-fil-A's audience. Now, that's a big broad spectrum that I just gave there. But let's say, for example, let's make that a smaller example. Now, let's say you see somebody and they have 300,000 followers. Okay, you might need to get down in their comments and start communicating, commenting up under their posts, engaging with people in their thread, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, YouTube. There's so many platforms in their communities. People live in the comments. At this point, people are more interested in the commentary in the comments than they are what's on the screen. So it's like we're sitting here talking now. They may be having a whole nother conversation in the comments. All this to say, if that's just one of the typical ways right now, if you don't have the marketing firm money, you have to have, if it's not you, you have to get somebody that can be a representative of your business that are living on this internet. That's their job. These are job titles, Pastor Pam, that are in corporate America now. These are job titles where people all day, every day, this is all they're doing. They're on the internet for somebody's company and they're leading people back to that company. So hopefully, did that answer your question?
Yes, that did. Thank you so much. And I know, and Crystal, how can people contact you? Because I know that you deal with marketing. I know Conveyance does marketing as well. So I'm giving people options. How can people contact you just to get your advice, your input?
My website is crystalsmithent.com. Crystal Smith Enterprises, but it's ent.com. My social media, I'm kind of pushing everybody right now to joy105.com. Joy105 is a media outlet that I created almost 15 years ago. And we do daily news, all types of news, not just faith-based news, Christian news, but news altogether. Joy105 and then Joy105 on YouTube. So if you want to reach me directly, Crystal Smith Enterprises, crystalsmithent.com is where you go.
Okay, awesome. Are you saying Joel, Joel?
JOY 105. JOY105.com.
Okay, got it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you for all of you who are commenting in the section. Greetings from Wisconsin. Okay, amen. Thank you so much for watching us. We're going to move right along. And so our next person, listen, it takes money. You know, it takes faith. It does. It takes people. It takes strategy. It takes marketing. It takes some cheese. It takes some bread to operate. And so we never had a person like this on before, but I was like, you know what, this is kind of important right here. So we have a friend of ours, Damon. Damon has been with us in various platforms. Of course, he is an experienced financial service professional. He started a Money Matters platform on Facebook, especially during COVID, just to help businesses with grants and to also with nonprofits. And so he has been awesome. So we brought him on today just to give us some tidbits of how we can get some money to fund our business. Hey, Damien.
Hey, Lady J, Lady Pam, First Lady Pastor.
How you doing?
Doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on today and giving our viewers some information, some insight on how they can get some money for their business.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always good to be here with you and opportunity to share. Can you hear me, Pastor?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. And just opportunity to be able to share nuggets, especially at the top of this year, And I know for me, the word is transformation and vision for what God is doing in the lives of his people. I'm excited to share, and I'm gonna try to share for maybe 5 to 7 minutes. I just really want to share some nuggets because there's been a lot of powerful information being shared, and this will be a podcast that you want to go back and listen to many times. And the word that I'm just thinking about is the opportunity to really have the wise counsel that you have put together as it relates to the panel list and what they have to share. Many of us are very familiar with the challenges through COVID, and for many businesses and industries, we're still going through. And I'm gonna talk more about Black and minority businesses, but this can pertain to any business in particular. But I want to set the foundation, if you will, on why it's important to take advantage of some of the resources that I'm going to share. And during COVID, we know that a majority of businesses failed. A lot of businesses closed. Roughly 40% of all Black businesses shut down during COVID. I know the government made efforts to provide PPP, Paycheck Protection Plan funds, and the truth of the matter is, a lot of individuals, Black businesses particularly, may not have a bank with a traditional financial institution, right? That was a fact. And that's not a bad thing necessarily if you keep the proper records. Now, we're not going to go into financial statements and records and things of that nature. I really want to talk about the opportunity that we have now more so than ever before. And so even during PPP, it was a transition made to say, hey, you know what? We want to allow fintech companies to be able to take advantages of PPP, right, and apply. So if you have a PayPal account, if you may have a Cash App in some instances, maybe you bank with a CDFI, and that's what I'm going to really talk about today, to be able to tap into some of those resources to really equal the playing field. Lo and behold, we go through COVID, we see some many more social injustice, and now you have a rise from corporations saying, hey, we want to help Black businesses. We want to help close this wealth gap. We want to help businesses not just survive, but businesses thrive. And so I say that to say that there's more resources now than ever before, and you just have to know where to go to find them. And I want to share 3 specifically on the call today, and there's more. And I'm going to share my information on how you can reach out to me. I know my purpose in this space, and that's what Pam mentioned it earlier, Pastor Pam, is for me to share the resources. And I believe that I come across resources to be able to share for the upbuilding of God's kingdom. And so when I mention the CDFI, a CDFI is a community development financial institution, right? Community development financial institution. The reason I mention that, because even when you talk about trying to get access to capital, it's very difficult to get funding through a traditional bank, period. They need 3 years tax returns. You got to have collateral. And quite frankly, a lot of times you may not be in position to have that information in those types of collaterals up front. So this CDFI is another way to get access to capital, and they serve to start up businesses primarily. And you can get anywhere from $5,000 to upwards of $100,000 in capital through going through a CDFI. You can go to cdfi.org to find your near CDI in your particular space. There's plenty in Birmingham, Alabama, but there are some that serve on a national capacity, so you can go and see what's available. And I want to bring your attention to one particularly, and it's on Hello Alice, and that's another platform, if you're not familiar with, that you can subscribe to, that provides a lot of great resources related to grants, things of that nature. And they have a loan program that's in partnership with American Express. It's called the Small Business Progress Loan, and they also partner with the CDFI called Axion. And so they have a process where there's not an application fee for you to apply for the loan. Now, keep in mind, just like if you apply for a credit card or if you're looking to purchase a home, they are going to pull your credit, and it's going to affect your credit score. But it's not going to affect it to the point to where it's like, you know what, I don't want to give that opportunity a shot, because that's the cost that you have to pay in doing business. The other piece that I want to share and why it's encouraging, when we talk about expanding and growing our business, we have to be able to embrace credit. We have to be able to embrace interest rates. A lot of it to me comes from just knowledge. And for me growing up, I felt like credit was the enemy. You don't mess with credit. You don't get a credit card. You don't touch it. Cash, cash, cash. And you know what? I'm here to challenge that thought, because it was many people, and I'm going back to PPP, that could apply for those funds, but they didn't understand what it was. That was offset money, interest, right? During our Money Matters, I talked about, hey, refinance your house. Interest rates are dropping, right? Down to 2%. Interest rates now for a house, anywhere close from 6 to 7%. So everything is cyclical, and you got to be able to time it right for when you make that choice and make that next step. And so with the CDFI, and why it's important, the interest rates are dropped. So even with that loan opportunity that I just talked about, they have a capped out interest rate that they're not going to charge more than 5.5% for that particular loan product, right? And so it's important to know that, because it's like, oh, I don't want to get a loan. I don't want to, have to pay credit. I don't want to have to pay interest, but you want to have a plan to be able to pay it back, right? Because they're going to ask for a personal financial statement, right? They want to see how much you own, how much you owe. And it's a time to really be transparent to see, hey, can you pay that loan back at the end of the day? And so it's important to have your financial structure in order, to have the documents that you need. So when you do go forth, you can put your best foot forward. So it's not complicated. It can be a little intimidating, but there's a process for it, and it's very simple at the end of the day. So I talked about the CDFI. I talked about going to Hello Alice. Hello Alice also have grants available. Right now, Black women are the largest group that are starting businesses over since the last 2 years, right? So there's so many resources. If you're a Black woman out there starting a business, there's grants available, there's low interest loans available, and all you have to do is give it a shot, and you have to try. You have to, we heard earlier from the panelists, you have to cast that net, right? And it may be times when you got denied for that loan before. It's a new season, so don't be afraid to give it another shot. When you go to those websites, the one thing I like about it is it's very educational. So it's not just come here, apply for a loan. They educate you. They let you know what's the loan process, how long is it going to take, what information do you need to have on the front end. And the other great thing about it, it's a trusted resource, right? So we're talking about a trusted resource that you can go to. The other one that I want to share, and I know I'm moving a little fast, I get excited too, and I know we got some more panelists coming to speak, is one that's called Kiva.com. Kiva.com. You can get up to $15,000 at a 0% interest. Up to $15,000 with a 0% interest. Basically, that's free money at the end of the day. Free, 0% interest. I'm gonna say it again, up to $15,000. And I don't know what your needs are as it relates to your business, but we don't want to despise small beginnings. And sometimes we may have to take on a $15,000 loan so we can build capacity depending on where your credit is, what your financial situation is looking like. So when we do need to maybe apply for 50 or 100 or 200,000, we can show that we built the character and have the capacity to be able to pay that back. And so when I mentioned Kiva.org, not only is it a 0% interest loan, the other cool thing about it is it's a crowdfunding element tied to it as well, right? So a lot of times when you're looking to get access to capital, people want to know what skin do you have in the game, right? Meaning what what efforts and energy are you going to put forth, right, in order to see your vision to come to pass? And so you have philanthropic leaders like Oprah Winfrey. You have the lady from Spanx. By the way, Kiva is a nonprofit 501c3, right? And they also have a marketing element tied to it because you're able to create a one pager, right? And your information about your business goes to all these many people and sources, right? And so if you're looking to get that 15,000, you have to be able to raise some of that money yourself, right? Part of that is to make sure you truly have a business, right? We heard earlier that it's not just a business to make money, but what need in the marketplace have you identified, and what's your solution for that particular business? Is it viable, right? But then it also gives you a chance to be able to talk about your business, to build the confidence, because in that crowdfunding campaign, you're going to need people to also sow a seed, right, into what you're trying to do, right, as a portion of that. And then the other portion comes from other philanthropic folks who give into that particular fund for people to have access to be able to purchase product, right, to be able to purchase inventory. Maybe it's to be able to contract one of the speakers that we heard from a marketing perspective. Maybe you need some additional dollars to trademark, right, your particular loan. The cool thing about it, they've given over $1.6 billion in capital, and they have a 96% payment rate. So the thing about it is, it's like a social enterprise, if you will. When you make the payments back into that pot of money, that loan pool, the money gets then redistributed back out to someone else. Right? Yeah. And then you could get back in line, get you another $15,000, right? So you don't have to do it that one time, but those are just some small ways in order to capitalize and get some access to capital that you need. So you're not really having to draw Peter to pay Paul, right? And the interest makes sense. It's a 0% interest. And so those are the three nuggets that I really want to share today. There's other grants and loan opportunities out there that's based off particular industries. It's also based off particular, cities and states that people would have access to. But don't put yourself in the box and discount what you can do. And I'm sitting here and it's like, we're hearing from a lot of people in the word, and I'm reminded of the Gospels as I get ready to close about the stewardship. And God gave those individuals gifts based off their abilities, right? And the one who actually did something with those gifts, he said you could at least put it in the bank for it to draw interest, meaning that we have to be able to take some calculated, practical risks, right, to really expand for God to multiply what we're trying to do, because your business is not just for your household. It's not just for your community. Right. It's not just for your city. I believe your business is there to be able to help cities, communities, states, nations, and across this world. And oftentimes to be able to do that, we need a hand up and not necessarily a hand out, but we have to get out and look for it, right? A closed mouth don't get fed. There's opportunities, and you have so many people that's out there willing to help give you the insight and the knowledge to go so you can make a decision on whether or not this opportunity is for me. And so I'm fired up, Lady Pam.
Yes.
I'm trying to slow back down a little bit. I know you may have one or two questions, but this has been great. I look forward to participating even more throughout the year, because there's even more nuggets that's available. And I don't want to just overload folks with a lot of information in this space, but that's a starting point for you today.
Yeah. No, this is great. Damon, tell us how to spell Kiva. Is it Kiva?
It's Kiva.
Okay. And you said .org?
.org.
.org. Okay. All right. Okay. Just want to make sure as we put that in the chat. No, thank you for giving us those resources, because there are opportunities out there, but a lot of times we don't know about them. And so I do want you to give us your information. I don't see any questions in the comment section, but how can people contact you if they just want to sit down and have a conversation? What's your contact info?
Right. You can go to ourmoneymatters.com,
Okay.
business Facebook page. I post content there. You can set up a time for us to meet. You can go to damienjcarson.com as well, a website to set up a consultation if you like. And that's how you can reach me. I'm excited about it. Or you can just find me on Facebook, Damien J. Carson, right? So to be able to provide additional resources.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And yes, Damien, we are going to have you on so you can even go even more in depth later on this year. Thank you so much for that information. Thank you for coming here on today. You have been awesome along with the rest of the speakers. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you too, Lady Pam.
Yes, sir. All
Take
right.
care. All right.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. And next we have Miss Shada Spikes. And, you know, Katrina talked about customer service. I mean, she kind of opened up with that. And customer service is so key. I mean, that can break your business. It can make your business. I just love customer service. I won't go back. You know, I'm not one of these people. Well, one time I did Yelp something and and it was so bad. Pastor Mason said, so they called my husband and asked him, can you please tell your wife to take it off of Yelp? It was terrible, y'all. So I don't Yelp anymore, but I won't go back. I will not go back. But customer service is so important. It's one of those foundational things. And so we have, of course, our customer service expert. Shada has been with us before. She has she's multi-gifted. She really is. She's also a preacher too as well. But she works for Atlanta Police Department. She does customer communication things for them. And so she has her own company, Spike Communications, and she just goes everywhere, just speaking and really talking to people about customer service and their business along with other things. And so I welcome you guys again, Shada Spikes. Hey, Shada.
Great morning. Happy 2023. It is so good to be here. I am so happy and excited. I'm not going to take long. I got 10 minutes and I'm going to maximize those 10 minutes. I'm going to give you all a lot. We've heard about Chick-fil-A and the customer service that they provide. But did you know that Chick-fil-A follows the Ritz-Carlton customer service experience?
Wow.
If you've ever gone to a Ritz-Carlton, they make you feel so special. They make you feel like they want you there, that they value their money, your money, and they value the money that they get because they are truly a business. And sometimes we have businesses and we don't do everything we need to do to connect with our customers. And here's what I want you all to understand. There's a video going around in Atlanta of a young lady who says, just because you got a garden, walls and grass on the wall and you got a DJ doesn't mean you can provide me with shoddy customer service. And that is what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of businesses pop up and they have a great idea, but the customer service aspect is horrible. But I'm going to give you all the ABCs to customer service, and I'm very big on that. First, the letter A, it's our attitude. Our attitude determines our altitude. Your customers should feel like you actually enjoy what you do. That's whether you are the owner, that's if you are the employee. When you interact with your customers and your clients, they need to see and feel that you enjoy what you do. B, for all my entrepreneurs, believe in your business, believe in your products, believe in your services. But understand, you still got to go back to A. You got to have a great attitude. And let me tell you this, being an entrepreneur is not easy. And we've heard that. Every single person who's gotten on here has said that. It is not easy. But guess what? It's worth it. It is certainly worth it. Anything worth having will not come easy. C, consistency. Consistency is paramount. One thing I see in a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses owned by people of color, is we're not consistent. And when I say that, and it's we have one thing today, another thing tomorrow, and we never master what we're doing. Master what you're doing so you can have some consistency. And the other word for the letter C is communicate. Learn how to communicate and communicate effectively. And we're going to talk about that. Let me say this as well. And since we're on the letter C, COVID has impacted the way we do everything. And I've noticed that values have changed since COVID. So this next letter, it may not seem very important to some people, but it's very important to me and what I see in business. And that's the letter D. Dress appropriately for the work you do. I've gone places recently, and I'm not even going to blame it on the pandemic, but I've gone places and I'm literally looking at the people working and I'm like, you're not dressed appropriately for this position. Mm-hmm. If you are handling my food, mm-hmm. I don't need you to come out with an apron on that has stains all over it. Right. So dress appropriately for what you're doing. The letter E. Empathize with your customers and show them that you understand. Here's something that I hate. I don't use the word hate often, but I hate calling a customer service rep and they act like they've never been a customer. They act like they've never called customer service. They act like they've never understood what I'm going through or what has happened with a product or with a service. So empathize with your customers. F, find the answers if you don't know them. Because just saying, I don't know, that's not good enough. Find the answers. G, give outstanding service. You got to give. If you want to have a business, you got to learn how to give outstanding services and outstanding products. And if your product or service fails, be willing to own that. Be willing to provide that refund. Be willing to provide that exchange. But that's if that product or service has failed and you know, sometimes it's not even worth going back and forth with the customer. It's not. You got to understand, going back and forth only creates a ripple effect. Don't do it. Just be willing to say, you know what? Here's your money back or here's an exchange. Now, don't get me wrong. You can have policies. Stand by your policies, but understand that you don't need to go back and forth. H, help your customers, your coworkers, your clients, and your employees. Help them to be better, especially if you are an entrepreneur who has employees. Help them to grow. Because someone said it earlier, if your business can't operate when you're not there, then that becomes difficult because you need to be able to take a break as well. And even with the letter H, help yourself. Be able to take breaks, take vacations. Stephen is out here. He is one person I know he is going to make it a point that he's going to take a vacation. Take a break because if you are a horrible leader, it's going to show when you're stressed. So understand that. Initiate contact with your customers. They don't always come to you. You got to understand that sometimes you got to go to them. You got to search them out. You got to find them. J, justify your reasonings if you have to say no. And if you have to say no, sometimes it's important to offer an alternative. So justify those reasons. K, know as much as possible about your business. Sometimes you might not know everything about the product or service, but you need to do the homework. Do your homework and know as much as possible about your business. L, listen and learn. And the other part of L is leave your personal problems at home. They are not a part of the business. Leave your personal problems at home. M, mind your manners. Thank you and please. Thank you and please can go a long way. N, never say, that's not my job. Never say that. Never, never, never. O, I said this earlier. Own your problems. Own your issues. If there was a breakdown in service or product, own that and go to that customer. Because sometimes I've had problems with a business, but I've continued service because of what they've done to make it right. So I work with a show with Dale Cartwell. He has a show and a television show, and he has something called the Make It Right Guarantee. Make it right. When you own your problems and make it right, people may be willing to come back and work with you more. And that's one thing about customer service. Sometimes the boss or the owner may not want to own the problem. Oh, I know it didn't do this. You might think that in your head, but don't express that to the customer. Do not do that. P, prioritize what's important. Put your people before process and procedure. Prioritize, and then prioritize how you handle your business. Do the things that we're talking about. You're talking to people who are seasoned in this. We are entrepreneurs. We have done this. We are doing this. I'm about to do something and step out and do something totally different in my business life. Y'all will hear about it soon. But prioritize what's important. Q, question your business. Question your business, question your policies, question your procedures, and find those things that might hinder you. Those are things that sometimes we don't want to go back and look introspectively and question, could I have done this differently? What can I do to make this easier? How can I automate systems? They make life easier. I always believe in work smarter, not harder. R, respond quickly and effectively to your customer's request. One thing I can't stand is if I call you and I'm going to give you 24 hours to get back to me, but don't call me 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. And I'm going to give you an example. I needed a service and I needed for this new project I'm doing. I needed a service. I put in a request. I don't get a call back. And it was the company I really wanted to work with. But guess what? I ended up with another company because they called me back immediately. They made life easy. They communicated with me. They called me and said what they're doing step by step. I heard back from the initial company almost 2 weeks later. By that time, I said, I don't need your service. What I needed is done. It's been taken care of. And now this particular business is my preferred business. And excuse me, everybody, I'm actually in a hotel and they're rolling, of course, of all time. They're rolling by. They've been quiet this whole time, and now he's rolling by. S, speak professionally and clearly. One thing I can't stand is going into businesses and people aren't speaking professionally. Now, let me tell y'all know I'm in Atlanta, known for hot wings. And there's this one spot, it's got the best hot wings. But sometimes I'm like, I gotta build myself up to deal with the people at the front counter. Because the little girl might be on her phone, and of course she's got her AirPods in, so she's talking. You don't know if she's talking to you or if she's talking to the person on the phone. Then she's looking at you like, "Why are you here?" And I'm looking at her like, "If you don't want to be at work, don't be here." Speak professionally and clearly. T, treat people fairly. That's important. Treat your customers fairly. Treat your employees fairly. U, use positive body language. When people come in, I'm here to help you. How can I help you? How can I be of service? Can I show you around? That doesn't mean follow them around, but can I show you around? Or can I suggest this? The positive body language will allow people to come closer to you, and that helps build trust. Building trust is important. V, verify that your customers are satisfied. And even I was about to say the word service-fied. That's a word that's my word. Service-fied means that they have received the service that they expect. Verify that through a phone call. Hey, I have the $5 jewelry truck. I'll call folks. Hey girl, did the jewelry work? How did it work for your outfit? Not only that, I have Spike Communications, my communications consulting firm. I send out a survey. How did you like the service? What can I do better? So verify that they are satisfied and service-fied. Then W, walk your customers through any complicated process. If you're dealing, especially if you've got a business that deals with money or major purchases, walk them through complicated process. Because here's the deal. I know television, I know media, I know public relations, I know law enforcement, I know what I know. I know crisis. I'm like a real life Olivia Pope. That's what I know. But I don't know life insurance. I don't know taxes. That's why I have people who do that. I got to call Sarita. And Stephen will tell y'all who that is. But I got people who I have to call because that's not my lane. I don't know trademark. That's what you call Katrina for. I don't know that. I know what I know. So if you have customers and you've got a complicated process, walk them through that process. X out complaining. This is something you say you want to do. You're going to hold to it, X out complaining. Because this is yours. Sometimes we put in 10 times more work for a job than we do for our own. And then we start complaining when I prayed to God about this business. Then we complain. And it's like, come on now, you can't have it both ways. Why? Yelling isn't allowed. It is not allowed. Keep your conversations professional. And Z, zero in on how you can help by listening more and talking less. You got to zero in. You got to be like that eagle. When an eagle's flying, their vision is so amazing. They can magnify something as small as a mouse on the ground and they are hundreds of feet in the air. You got to zero in on the things that you need to do to make your business run and to make your business successful and profitable. But let me say this, and of course, here he comes again with
You
this
fine?
prayer can. But it's all good because guess what? I know I'm in this open space. I'm in 2 meetings at the same time, but I wanted to make the time to come out and talk to you all because I'm actually done. I wanted to make sure I went through from A to Z customer service. I want you to understand that customer service can make or break a company. Customer service can make or break a relationship. Customer service can make or break a church. It can make or break a home. How you deal with other people and how you interact and the relationships you build can impact how successful your business is. You can put in all the money for marketing. You can put in all the money. Let me tell y'all something. You know, it's something really strange when you see a McDonald's go out of business. And I have seen some McDonald's go out of business just because of their customer service, not just because the ice cream machine was down, but the customer service. And I have seen that. I have seen places where people say, especially here in Atlanta, you know, Atlanta is a very trendy city and something can be popping in Chicago. It can be popping in Birmingham and they come here to Atlanta and we shut it down. Just like the young lady in the video that I saw on Instagram, she said, your customer service, understand that. Also understand this, your prices got to match your customer service too.
Yes.
You can't sit here and want to charge over $1,000 for something, but you give them $5 customer service. That's just not going to work. People are not going to play that game with you, especially if you're providing a service in which it costs a lot and a product that costs a lot. They're not. Now, if it's something inexpensive, people might say, I'll brush it off. But I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to give you a personal story. I had landscape done on my home. And that landscape had two digits and a comma, okay? And the customer service I received was horrible. And come to find out, after doing I thought I did all my homework, but after doing my homework, I found out that this particular person had over 60 victims in a neighborhood that wasn't far from mine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this customer service, and we have all banded together. So we're going to work to make sure that no one else becomes a victim. So be careful how you treat people, because they may band together and they may come up against you. And now you can have all the Bible verses. I'm going to tell y'all, let me keep it real. You can have all the Bible verses in the world. You can know them from front to back to front. But if you're doing people wrong, it doesn't matter how many verses you know or how many prayers you pray. Wrong is wrong. Treat people fairly, treat people the way you want to be treated, and then you will see God pour out blessings into you. Lady Pam, that's my time. I'm going to jump ahead of you. If y'all want to contact me, my website is Spiked, SPIKED, communicationsllc.com. But my name is Shata, that's CHATA, Spikes with an S, SPIKES. You want to talk to me? I've had actual members of Lady Pam's church and folks who have actually watched these amazing workshops who've actually reached out to me. This is free information. Y'all take advantage. Now, once you start reaching out to some of us, now we're not going to guarantee it's going to be free. You being blessed through Lady Pam, you being blessed through them. But you might get that friends and family discount. You never know. Different businesses offer different things. But one thing I know about the folks who have been present today is that they offer phenomenal customer service. Thank y'all so much for having me. And let's make 2023 our Michael Jordan year. Let's make it our Jordan year, y'all.
Yes. Amen. I'm glad you said Jordan. I'm not going to get on that. But listen, you are so right with customer service. And, I think people think that just because they've always been mean and nasty, and my mama, she had this business at her kitchen and she was always mean and nasty. People they don't want to experience that. It's a new day. And I don't know if Varsity is still in Atlanta, if it's still... People don't want Varsity all the time. They don't want all that. And I don't know if it's changed or not. But yeah, you have to, these were great tips, guys. For every letter of the alphabet, I'm glad you started with attitude. I mean, all of these were great. They were awesome. I think I've experienced, and there's some places here in Birmingham, I'm surprised they're still in business because you talked about dress appropriately. And the waitresses there are wearing, I mean, whatever kind of bottoms, like really short shorts. And I'm like, the food is good, but I don't think I want to be looking at all this while I'm trying to eat my chicken, So, but you're right. All these tips were great. Awesome. Thank you so much. I know you're busy. Thank you for giving us your time. You heard it, guys. You can contact her. She's wonderful, super awesome. Everybody here is just awesome and great attitude. So thank you, Shada. Have a great day. All right. We have two more speakers, y'all. Thank you so much for sitting tight with us and hearing us out. We have next on our platform, we have Stephen Thurston, who has been with us, of course, before. He is just a wonderful person as it relates to project management. He knows how to steer you in the right direction. He's a go-getter. He's a trendsetter. He does it all. And so I'm going to let him have his way. He's going to introduce himself, tell us a little bit about what he is doing, what he's up to right now, and then talk to us about his title of being future focused.
Hey, Lady Pam, thank you. Thank you, Pastor James, for doing this, for inviting me. This amazing cadre of speakers who dropped some amazing nuggets thus far. You all are doing major work in the ministry in the marketplace, and I celebrate you because a lot of churches are slacking. So thank you all for having an intense focus on bettering people's lives from a holistic perspective. I am currently retired, just retired 2 weeks ago, but still function in the space of consulting with churches, nonprofits, municipalities. If they got a check that clears, I'm consulting with them to share the history and knowledge that I've built over time, having pastored 21 years, a couple of mega churches in Chicago. Got some insight in businesses from real estate holdings, ladies' shoe stores, men's luxury clothing stores. All of that is brought to the table to help individuals and organizations to be better, changing what's within to change what's around. And so as we look today at focusing on the future, I want to do that through the lens of change. And change has been mentioned a couple of times by previous presenters, but I want to key in on that. Mark Zuckerberg said this: in a world that's changing quickly, the only strategy that's guaranteed to fail is not taking risk. As leaders, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we need to recognize that leadership is a static endeavor. It's a dynamic process that positions us to grow daily as we face issues and problems and challenges that sometimes, Lady Pam, frustrate us. Other times they fuel us, sometimes both at the same time. And as successful leaders, not only do we need to acknowledge the need to develop new strategies as we push forward, move forward, try to level up in what we're doing, but also we have to be willing and able to navigate our teams through change. And so I know I've got pastors that are tuned in, business leaders that have staffs. You got to help your teams, the people that follow you, navigate through the change that comes with an evolving and developing business. The prospect of change can be daunting. It can be difficult for some people, especially as we've seen, as we've made our way in this pandemic space. But the process of change doesn't have to be difficult. I'll say that again. The prospect of change can be daunting, but the process of change doesn't have to be difficult. Let me give us a couple of realities of change, 3 realities of change. Number 1, there's going to be clarity and confusion. At the onset of change, there's going to be clarity and confusion. At the beginning, clarity compels us forward and creates cultural excitement. But as the process evolves, confusion can begin to creep in. Listen, people get lost. They forget that they only see their slice of the pie rather than the bigger picture of what's happening. And that's why, as a leader, you've got to remain focused, because sometimes God will give us vision, but it seems like the people working for us or following us have cataracts. Stay committed to where you are and where you're going. Don't allow them to cause you to get lost. It wasn't a conference call when God called you to it. God gave you that vision, that idea, that perspective for the future. Keep rocking with it. And as a leader, you have to realign the confusion that your teammates or followers will have and to refocus them on the destination. One of the key things that I discovered in my years of leadership is that you have to remind people of the why. You've got to refocus their attention on the why and not allow them to get caught up in the weeds of the what. Focus on the why, know your why, and not get caught up in the weeds of the what. So clarity and confusion are the first realities of change. The second realities of change are conclusion and continuation. Change brings an end to practices and processes that are no longer relevant or effective. And we got to recognize that what got you here won't necessarily get you there. Business evolves. One of our speakers spoke about that a few minutes ago. And here's the reality. Some things in our business, in our organization will have to die. Other things we need to kill. But change needs to be planned and it needs to be strategic. And here's the thing. Leading through change will challenge your thinking on what might not need to be concluded. Sometimes when we start off, we've got a vision and we're going to have to cut all of this stuff. But as you move through, and if you're doing it in a planned way and a strategic way, some of the things that you thought you might have to kill, no, you just might have to reconfigure, calibrate them differently, position them differently to make them effective for where you're seeking to go. And change, when it's done right, is going to help the leader, it's going to help the organization, it's going to help the business to re-emphasize values and best practices. It's our core values that ought to drive everything that we do with our business and our organization. And sometimes as we go down the road, that stuff gets lost. You start out, we're going to do this. As Shanta was talking about customer service, we're going to be on top of our game, but then we get slack, we get comfortable. As we go through this process of leading people through change, it can help bring us back to the place where we're looking at the basics, looking at our foundational materials, and then driving from there and reorientating us to kind of what we decided at the jump when we got the vision. I'm gonna launch out, start this business. We get back to that core thing to help us continue down the road. And then the third element of the reality of change is compassion and community. Change leads to deeper compassion for each other on the team and then that community and a greater sense of community. Here's the thing that I need owners and leaders to recognize. Change entails grief. And leaders must be emotionally intelligent enough and sensitive to this reality to effectively shepherd your people, your team, your employees through this process. Change brings about grief. It happens. Many people don't know how to name it as that, but that's literally what's happening. And so you've got to shepherd people through that grief process. And that change, it'll put us in the same place as we all share in the growing pains of change. It impacts people differently. Some people are attached to their identity is connected to what they've been doing and how they've been doing it. And then to change that, I've lost something. And so we've got to be sensitive to that as leaders if it's going to be effective in what we're doing to bring about change, to take our business, our organizations to the next level. I know you're asking, but Stephen, aren't there some hurdles in leading change? There are. Let me give you three that I want you to pay attention to as you navigate the space and the place of change in your business and your organization. Number one, there's change fatigue. That's the pressure of making too many changes in too little time. You've got to meter that thing out. That's why planning, as a project manager, I recognize that 70% of our time ought to be spending planning. Planning is critical and it's important so that you can measure and meter that thing out in the right way. The second thing is faith fatigue. Faith fatigue. There's a loss of faith in the initial impetus for the change. Things don't go as quickly as people want them to go. You're not getting the wins like you thought you were going to get. And then people come back, leader, pastor, boss. Did we really have to make that change? Like, I don't even think it's important no more. Do we have to keep dumping money into this? Is that still the proper vision? Was that God talking to you or was it indigestion? I don't know. People get into this space of faith fatigue. So that can be a hurdle as you're leading people through change. And then number three, this is a key one, information deficiency. There's not enough input from those who are executing the changes. We have to bring people into the conversation, especially those frontline workers who are really doing the work, to make sure their voice is being heard because they see and they know what we don't see and know all the time when we're sitting on the top. The best way motivate people through change is to tap into the emotions that they already feel and connect the change to those pride points that are within the culture of that organization or that business. I just saved somebody a whole lot of stress and maybe a heart attack. So let me say that piece again. It's going to help your leader, boss, entrepreneur. The best way to motivate people through change is to tap into the emotions that they already feel and connect the change to those pride points within the culture of that organization or that business. I'm closing. Let me give you a quick roadmap for leading through change. Number one, the first thing that you want to do is create a plan. Number one, create a plan. Every organization requires change in order to survive. And if you don't innovate and respond to your market, the organization, the business, it's going to collapse. And so develop a plan so that your changes that you're going to make, they have a focused purpose and you're not changing just for the sake of change. Number two, understand the end goal. Understand the end goal. Where are we now and where do we want to be? And that gap in between shows people and challenges people to creatively create steps to get us to that space and that place. And we don't want to allow pride to cause us to stick to a plan that's leading us nowhere. Don't be afraid to pivot and change what you're doing to get to where you say you want to be. The path for change doesn't have to be set in stone. Number three, communicate clearly. Communicate clearly. Keeping the goal before the people is critical. You want to keep pounding that into the people's head until they sick of it. That's when you know you've done an effective job. They sick of hearing about what we're about to do and where we're about to go. Organizational change should be a rewarding, exciting, and worthwhile endeavor. Number four, I want you to identify key players. Identify key players. Identify change advocates as well as potential saboteurs. And so you want to find the people that are going to be pride builders, find the people that are repositors of the culture, and then find those change ambassadors. Those are three key players that you want to identify and bring them close to you. And then people that would serve as saboteurs, don't shun them, bring them closer, because they may have an eye and see some stuff that you haven't seen, that if you make that small tweak or give them the information that they're missing, they might become your biggest cheerleader. Fifth and finally, manage expectations. When we're talking about leading change, you've got to manage expectations. The worth of a leader can be measured by how effective they are at managing expectations. Clarify what's expected from team members and conversely, figure out what they expect from you. I hope that this was helpful. Hope you found some value in what I've shared today that would help you to lead through change as you become future focused in your business and entrepreneurial endeavors.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. I'm glad you said that because I had jotted this question down as far as buy-in. Should you get, buy-in from your people, how important that is. Just the part that you said about change. And let me ask you this, as an entrepreneur, what if you have people, you have this business and you have people who work for you, and let's say they need to change some things about them. As a leader, what do? So you're trying to make this change, but they're fighting you, or they have characteristics that, are not good for the business. How can we navigate that? If you can touch on that real quick.
Great question. There has to be very clear and honest conversation. This is where we are. This is where we're seeking to go. Yeah. This is the value that you've added thus far. Here are the blind spots that you might not see about yourself that I want to challenge you to address. Yes. Here are the resources that I'm willing to provide you to help you to kind of compensate for those blind spots. We're going to test this out for a period of time. If we see no level of improvement, let's come back to the table and have a conversation. And maybe you've reached your expiration date in this place. And if that's the case, no hard feelings, but I want to help you to transition to your next.
That's good. Because Steve, a lot of times it's about how you serve the dish. I like the way you said that. It's like, hey, this is what I see, but I'm willing to help you with this. Let's work on it together. But if not, then we need to part separate ways. That was really good, because that ties into your, what you said about being sensitive, really being sensitive. I think Shada said it too, about being sensitive to emotions and feeling to the emotions of the people. And so that was great. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Because we're trying to help people who are also leaders, but who also work for these leaders as well. One other question. So what if you're an employee and you're working for a leader, let's say, and maybe there's some things about them that probably need to change in that business setting. What to do about that?
Sure. Good question that you asked. Have the courage to have conversation. Sometimes these are crucial conversations. Now, we recognize that a lot of people in leadership display traits of narcissistic personality disorder. Some of them have narcissistic personality disorder. And you have to recognize what you're dealing with, because that's going to help you to recognize what type of response you're probably going to get from them when you highlight and address their issues. If it's a person that is dealing with narcissistic personality disorder, they're going to dismiss everything you say in spite of the evidence and the facts that you have to support it. And so you need to make up in your mind that this is my time to begin preparing my exit. I can't do this. I can't exist in this environment and leave. It's really, that's leave. If that's your pastor, leave. If that's your boss, leave. Whatever position they have in your life, leave, because it's not going to change. It's not going to get better. They don't. It's a sickness. I deal in mental health. It's a sickness. They're never going to change. So get the hell out of there.
Well, that's it. There we go. Very good, Steve. That's awesome. That's what Steve does. He and that's what we love about him, and just everybody on here. Just the transparency, how you keep it real. And so thank you for that great information. Thank you so much. If you're watching out there, please make sure you are sharing this with someone that you know who can really benefit from this. Thank you so much, Steve. How can people contact you again?
Sure. You can hit my website, StephenJThurston.com. That's Stephen with a PH, StephenJThurston.com. You can find me on Instagram, Stephen J. Thurston, Facebook, Stephen Thurston. Any of those platforms, you can get access to me and what I have to offer. Thank you again for making this opportunity available today.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Steve. All right. Well, everybody, we have one more person, one more speaker. We have Sam Glickman. He is out of Atlanta. He is a very successful entrepreneur. He is always doing something. He is very innovative. He has had several barbershops just going on at the same time. He was actually Pastor Mason and my son's, well, at that time, one son, their barber back when we lived in Atlanta. And he is such a great guy. He is just very innovative in his thinking, always provide customer service. He has all of the things that everybody else has already talked about. And so I bring to you Samuel Glickman. He is going to just finalize it all. He's going to tell you a lot about the ups and downs, the trials, tribulations, everything that he has on his heart. And so we thank you so much. So Sam, how are you? First of all, tell us about the power of being able to do it all over again. Would you do it all over again? Would you do it all over again?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Well, first of all, I appreciate you inviting me again, and
yeah.
And can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I've been in between several locations today because when you called me, I had to call and go and do a service real quick, and now I'm back over here at this other location. Anyway, thank you for inviting me again. I've actually enjoyed all of the panelists. I feel like I've been in class big time this morning, so I got quite a few nuggets. The trademarking and branding and all of that has been all well. Curvance definitely took me to church. I felt like passing the offering bucket around, So anyway, the power of being able to do it all over again is the mindset. And I don't want to take anybody else's time up at this point since I'm the last. I guess I take my time, right?
You can take your time. You're the last one.
Yeah. So I found out a long time ago that one of the most powerful things I can do is let go. But to double down on that was to be able to start over, right? And the minute you let something go, it's a major burden lifted. And I think that's one of our struggles when it comes down to Black commerce, when it comes down to Black business, Black entrepreneurship. We have a lot of pride and a lot of, we're proud. When we start something, we put a lot of energy into it. I heard Crystal say earlier, I think that was Crystal, the first panelist. Was that Crystal Smith, I believe?
Yeah.
Got you. She mentioned about putting all of her energy and time and effort into trying to solidify a brand, only to realize, only to come to the reality that this isn't even what God was leading her to do, right? And sometimes we put a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of effort in actually starting and then running and then establishing, only to realize that this isn't working. And we realized that pretty quick. But because of our pride, because of our ego, because of what we're, our friends, our sisters, our brothers, our mother, the whole idea of what appears to be failure, we hold on to things. And we hold on a little too long. Before you know it, 10 years passes by. And then we're talking, 10 years of holding on to something that should have never been. And all the stress and the burnt relationships and the mental capacity that you have to sustain something that's not supposed to be is overwhelming. And so when you finally can make the decision to let something like that go, it's a burden lifted. What I've realized is that when you finally let it go, not only is it a burden lifted, but for people like me that are visionaries, I get even more powerful when I figure out how to start over. And so I know what it feels like to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into a business. To go in 6 months after doing a build out, beautiful place. But after doing a build out and trying to get clients to come in there and patronize the professionals that were in this space, I realized that, man, this thing isn't working. And I couldn't recruit the money that I put into it. The location was terrible. I think I was so caught up on the build out. I never really took time to think about, okay, how am I going to actually make money in this place? I think I was 23 years old. I ended up holding on to it for about 10 months. I should have folded at 6 months. It took, my pride kept it open an additional 4 months. I finally let that thing go. So a couple $100,000, maybe a little over a couple $100,000 that lasted 10 months. Couldn't recoup any of that back. I actually had 2 investors that invested in me on top of what I spent out of my own savings. At 23 years old, it was a burden lifted. I'm gonna tell you what felt good. When I folded that, I actually had the guts to start something else. And it was completely opposite of what I had just folded. I went from opening up a high-end salon suite, this was back in 2001, to opening up a discount barbershop, which is where I met you guys at. I went from putting $200,000 into a business to putting $20,000 into my next venture. 10% less, 10% of what I invested into the first location that stressed me completely out. Thank God I had the guts to fold it at 10 months. It shouldn't have lasted 6 months.
Yeah.
But thank God I had the guts to close it at 10 months. And this is just general conversation at this point. But the guts to reopen something that cost me 10% of what I invested in the first location, which eventually ended up being a chain of locations that I ended up selling for well over, it was roughly about $45,000 a piece per location that I sold in 2007, which ended up being roughly 6 locations that we ended up with. So you factor in what I lost in the first location, which I knew wasn't working, but the guts of me to shut that thing down with 2 investors involved, and then to open up something that cost 10% of what was invested, to then turn around and sell it in 2007, for $100,000 more of what I invested into the first one. I felt powerful. I felt powerful. And so I just wanted to get on here because I know so many people put so much energy into starting something, right? Only to discover that it may not be the right timing, or it may not be the right location, or it may not have been the right brand, or who knows what it is. But then having the power to say, you know what? I can do this a little bit better. I can do this a little bit different. Let me start over. That's the power that I think our community hasn't figured out how to unlock. And it's been a major asset for me. You've known me for years. I've had the power of being able to stop something real quick and then turn around and rebirth something immediately, and it blows up. What I'm doing right now, I'm literally sitting in a building, okay? And I'm going to do this intentionally. What I failed at in 2001, I have redone again here in 2021. 20 years later, okay? Wow. You're in the lobby of the exact same thing that I built 20 years ago that didn't work.
Wow.
And here I am now in twice the size of what I built in 2001 for half the cost of what I did in 2001, because I've learned from my mistakes. And I'm already at 75% occupancy, and I've only been open 2 months.
Wow.
Okay. And so the power of just being able to start over, regroup, adjust, the power of being able to slow life down a little bit. We're in the day of mental health, right? The word mental health has become so popular. Now we're so conscious about our mindset and how we think and how we feel and how others are feeling around some of our mistakes, some of the decisions and poor decisions that we've made, how it affects everybody in our household. Yeah. I talked the other day about the stress of fathers just being able to go home to their families and look them in the eye, knowing that they can't provide for them the way they wish they really could, and how it affects their mental health, how their kids desire to spend more time with their fathers, but their fathers are so overwhelmed with working and trying to provide at the house. That's a mental health issue. And for entrepreneurs like myself, I know what it's like to be a single father for 10 years, building, closing stuff down, selling stuff, starting over, and the power to be able to just slow life down, readjust, regroup, and to still be on top, to still stand on my 2 feet, to still have a mental capacity that's healthy enough for me to think clearly. That to me is a conversation that we need to have in our communities, especially around entrepreneurship. Yeah. Just the power to being able to know when to hold them and when to fold them, and the burden that's lifted that comes from that, and the power that comes from just being able to start over, to readjust, regroup, and do it better.
Yeah.
So that's me. That's where I'm at. That's the 2 cents that I wanted to bring to this. I'm glad I'm actually was the last. I was just hoping somebody wasn't going to talk about readjusting. But, just the power of being able to start over, to me, is the most powerful thing an entrepreneur can do. And it's such a stress reliever when you know that you don't have to hold on to something if you don't feel like it's working. Yeah. You don't have to have that kind of pride and that kind of weight on you. Be proud. But be proud enough to shut something down just as quick as you started it.
Right.
Yeah. So, I appreciate the invite again. Yeah. I didn't have one. You got a lot of pastors on here.
You have
a lot of articulate, educated philosophers and theologians. I'm practical. And so I just like to bring the practical touch to this thing every year. And this is what? This is year 4?
I think it's year 4. That's what I was thinking. I have to go back. I think it's year 4. No, and
you keep bringing me back.
And I keep bringing you back.
so I'm doing something right.
You really are. No, because Sam, all the topics were great, but I think as a people, we're just afraid of failing, and we think that if we fail, that it's over and that's it, and there's no coming back. But Katrina said, she was the one who opened us up and said, she had this particular name and she had spent all this money. She said, nope, I'm not doing it. And she had to spend more money to change her name. But it doesn't mean that you're a failure. A lot of times it's just the start of something else that God is birthing in you, so it's important for people to know that, because having a business, you just kind of wonder, okay, am I doing it right? Is this going to work? I want it to work, but sometimes you have to shift. Steve talked about that. Sometimes you have to redo some things. And so, no, you give us that piece of, hey, it's okay if I fail. It doesn't mean I'm not a success. With success sometimes come failure. And so no, you give us that piece of somebody who's been walking through it, 20 years, maybe more than 20?
Next year it'll be 30 years.
About 30 years, yeah.
Next year it'll be 30 years, yeah.
Yeah, and from where you started out, you failed in your 20s, but look at what you have now, like you said, at 75% occupancy. So that is a testament, and who's to say it's supposed to happen at year 30, if you're 30 years of age. I think Morgan Freeman, he started acting when he was 60, I think someone was saying. I was like, wow. Right. I mean, so who's to say, that it's going to be a certain way. John Maxwell.
Well, visions grow too, not to cut you off, but visions grow, right? A vision that I had 20 years ago, here I am again, 20 years later doing it.
Yeah.
But it's working now. Right. And so I have to equate that to the wrong timing, the wrong location, the wrong mindset, actually, at that time.
Yeah.
But here I am 20 years later, learning from the mistakes, learning from what appeared to be a failure, right? Learning from, holding on to things too long. We learn from every endeavor, from every trial, from the success, right? Some of us are successful in what we do right off the bat.
Right.
But we can become more successful, right? And then some of us have to learn how to digress a little bit. I heard somebody say earlier, they don't think they'll ever retire. I'm retiring next year. No, literally, I'm retiring next year on my birthday, May 6, 2024.
I know we saw that.
Because I've created passive income for myself. It's taken me 30 years to do it, but it's done. And thankfully for me, I'm still in my 40s. And so I still have this progressive mindset, but I have to slow myself down enough for me to do some other things that I want to do and do those things better and bigger. Yeah.
Good stuff. I think John Maxwell said, fail forward, failing is not a setback. It's just, it's pushing you further into what it is that God wants you to do. And so, thank you so much. I think Steve retired too. I said, I'm gonna get with y'all. I'm retired. I'm 50.
I heard you say that early.
I may have a ways to go, but no, this is good stuff, Sam. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on today. We've been right here for about 2 hours now. A lot of you have stayed on and you've commented at how great this was, how good the speakers were. You've heard some great information on today, and so I pray that it has truly blessed you all. Of course, if you want to contact these speakers, of course you can do that. You can also email me, Lady Pam at tcowi.org. And then, of course, I can send you their contact information, but we try to drop everybody's information in the Facebook page. And so, of course, let's be mindful of that. Also, just want to leave you with this quote. I know we just had a holiday where we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr., but there was a quote that somebody had put out there. It says, if you can't run, then fly. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving. So that is our word for you guys on today. Just keep moving. Keep moving in whatever it is God has you doing. Keep moving in all of these great things that people have talked about on today, trademarking your name, community, customer service, making sure that your business is being elevated in the midst of this inflation, doing everything that you can do. Keep moving. You only had 5 customers today. Look, tomorrow you're going to have 10. So listen, you have to keep moving, make those necessary changes, do everything. These were some great panelists. And so listen, before we dismiss, I'm going to leave y'all with this one final song, and then I'm going to end it. So listen, guys, y'all be blessed on today.
Right in the middle of a challenge, feeling sorry for yourself.